The escape pod had crashed into the asteroid belt of Sector 7 with enough force to shatter three nearby rocks into glittering fragments. Jason Torres, a salvage runner working the outer rim, had picked up the distress beacon purely by chance. He'd been tracking a derelict freighter when his scanners caught the faint pulse, weak, irregular, dying. Probably space junk, he muttered to himself, but something made him change course anyway. Perhaps it was the loneliness of 3 months alone in the black, or perhaps it was the stubborn human instinct that couldn't ignore a cry for help, no matter how faint. What he found was neither junk nor human. The pod was sleek, organic-looking, made of materials Jason had never seen before. Its hull shimmered with an iridescent quality that hurt to look at directly. He'd suited up, crossed the void between his ship and the wreckage, and forced open the sealed hatch with a plasma cutter. Inside, barely conscious, lay a woman unlike any he'd ever seen. Her skin was pale silver, marked with intricate patterns that glowed faintly blue. Her eyes, when they briefly opened, were entirely black, like pools of deep space itself. She wore what appeared to be ceremonial armor, now cracked and damaged, with symbols Jason couldn't begin to decipher. "Hey, can you hear me?" Jason asked, knowing she probably couldn't understand. "I'm getting you out of here." She said something in a language like wind chimes and water, then collapsed completely. Jason carried her back to his ship, the Vagrant's Hope, and placed her in his medical bay. The automated system struggled to get readings on her physiology, but they managed to stabilize her condition. For 3 days, she remained unconscious while Jason's ship limped toward the nearest station. He sat with her often during those days, talking to fill the silence. He told her about Earth, about the colonies, about how humanity had clawed its way to the stars through sheer bloody-mindedness. He didn't know if she could hear him, but it felt right somehow. On the fourth day, she woke. "You are human," she said in perfect, accented English. Her black eyes studied him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "Yeah, Jason Torres. You've been out for a while. What's your name?" She hesitated, as if the question carried weight he couldn't understand. "Emma," she finally said. "You may call me Emma." Over the following weeks, as they traveled toward the neutral trading station at Kepler's Gate, Emma slowly revealed fragments of her story. She was fleeing from something. Enemies who had attacked her ship, who wanted her dead or captured. She never explained why, and Jason never pushed. In his line of work, you learn not to ask too many questions. What surprised him was how quickly they fell into an easy companionship. Emma was fascinated by everything human: their food, their music, their seemingly reckless approach to survival. Jason found himself captivated by her stories of worlds he'd never imagined, of civilizations that rose and fell before humanity had even discovered fire. "Your people are strange," Emma said one evening as they shared a meal. "You have so little, yet you give so freely. You are so fragile, yet you never surrender." Jason shrugged. "That's just how we're built, I guess. Stubborn as hell." She smiled. He'd learned to read her expressions, and something passed between them that transcended species. At Kepler's Gate, Emma disappeared. One morning, Jason woke to find her quarters empty, with only a small device left behind. A translator, he realized, far more advanced than anything human-made. There was no note, no goodbye. He tried to find her, but it was as if she'd never existed. 5 years passed. Jason continued his salvage work, though he never forgot the silver-skinned woman who'd briefly shared his ship. He'd moved on, found new contracts, even considered settling down on one of the inner colonies. Then the Korthalics came. The enemy was unlike anything humanity had faced. They swept through the outer colonies like a plague, their technology centuries beyond human capability. System after system fell. Fleets were obliterated. Humanity, for all its determination, was losing. Jason found himself drafted into the desperate defense of the Terran coalition, piloting a fighter in battles that seemed increasingly hopeless. It was during one such battle, in orbit around New Geneva, that everything changed. A massive ship appeared. Not Korthalics, but something else entirely. It broadcast on all channels, and the voice that emerged made Jason's heart stop. "People of Terra," Emma's voice rang out. "I am Empress Emma Tharasway of the Luminari Collective. The ones who attack you are my ancient enemies, and they came to your worlds searching for me. This war is my burden to bear." The revelation hit Jason like a physical blow. Emma, not just an alien woman, an empress, a queen fleeing assassins who'd now brought war to humanity. I offer myself in exchange for peace, she continued. Return me to the Korthalics, and they will cease their assault on your people. No, Jason whispered, knowing she couldn't hear him across the void. Don't do this. But the Luminari ship was already moving, descending toward the Korthalics flagship. Jason watched his scanner as Emma's signature, one he'd memorized without realizing, moved towards certain death. The Korthalics accepted. Their fleets withdrew immediately, and Emma's signal vanished. Jason screamed her name in the silence of his cockpit, but the void swallowed it whole. She had saved humanity, saved billions of lives, by sacrificing herself for a species she'd known for mere weeks 5 years ago. Later, when the treaty was formalized, Jason learned the truth. Emma had been fleeing an arranged marriage to the Korthalics Emperor, a union that would have enslaved her people. When she disappeared, the Korthalics had searched the galaxy, attacking anyone who might have harbored her. She'd chosen humanity over her own survival because, as she'd once told him, humans gave freely and never surrendered, in saving one human woman who wasn't even human. Jason had unknowingly saved an empress who would one day die to save his entire species. He kept the translator she'd left him, a reminder that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness ripple across the stars in ways we can never predict, and sometimes they come back as sacrifice.